Hey everybody, it's Alex. So this episode was originally supposed to be part of another episode where we talked about news, what we were playing, and then Kingdom Hearts 3. But we ended up talking about Kingdom Hearts for so long that we decided it should just be its own separate episode. So this episode is just the Kingdom Hearts talk, and you can find the News of the Week style discussion on its own in the feed. Okay, enough disclaimers. Enjoy. Hello, friends, and welcome to Brotherly Love Gaming, the show where two brothers talk about the past, present, and future of our lives in gaming. I'm Alex, and here with me today, in the flesh, no less, is my brother Spence.
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
It's going.
It's going?
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts.
It's time to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. Oh god. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
So, excuse me, I'm dying over here. So this conversation was inspired by me getting caught up on the story to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, which is the mobile game. And spoilers for all of that. Just spoilers everywhere. You know, we don't know the plot of anything in Kingdom Hearts 3. I've actually been avoiding trailers for it.
Yeah,
since the first
I got
one.
an ad for it on YouTube, and I was like, no!
I haven't even listened to the new theme song.
I downloaded.
I started watching today. Tim Rogers did a video about fans not needing to read or watch reviews of the game. Basically his argument being like, if you liked Kingdom Hearts 2, if you're already excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, there is very little chance that you're not going to like Kingdom Hearts 3. He's like, the people that make the Kingdom Hearts games are very good at making Kingdom Hearts games. You know, they know what they're doing. You don't need to have Tim Rogers basically validate your opinion. Now, some of that, just I guess for extra context, comes from the fact that he was living in Japan at the time that Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. So he wrote what he believes is the first English language review of Kingdom Hearts 2. And at the time, he just decided to, like as a gag, just because he wanted to, just tore the game to shreds. And he said his blog, which was not very big at the time, got like 4 million hits on that page, got 6,000 comments.
Wow. People
People went after him, basically. And he said he felt bad about it because he didn't need to do that, and he just wanted the attention. But anyway, I love Tim Rogers. I'm not trying to make fun of him. My point being that I was watching that video, and he used footage from trailers that I hadn't seen, so I just had to like minimize the video and just listen to his dialogue, his speech instead, because I was like, I don't want to see images from this game yet. I just want to experience it. So I don't know what's going on with that. So maybe some of this stuff has been hinted at in trailers or anything like that. But I caught myself back up on everything. I had not played Union Cross, and I can't wrap my head around how I tweeted the other day. I'm really proud of this tweet actually. That because I did not mean to make this joke when I made it, but it actually is really perfect. I was like, Union Cross is basically Schrodinger's Keyblade, because it is both completely essential but also completely skippable until we open the box. And that's an accidental joke, because a key plot point to Union Cross is a fucking black box that nobody knows what is in it. And in Kingdom Hearts 3, Maleficent is apparently looking for it. So we don't know how important the story to Union Cross is.
Is
basically.
it like a big black
It is,
box?
yeah.
Or-
No, it's more like a trunk, really. Everyone
Okay.
calls it the black box, but so the character who...
Like when you first sent me this over text, I'm not gonna lie, I thought
Oh
like a
my
little
God.
toolbox.
No,
but then
no.
like now that I'm thinking about it,
Like
it
size
could
of
be
this
like,
table.
I was gonna say
is-
it could be like one of the like strongest keyblades in
Well,
existence.
that's the thing. One of the theories is that the Keyblade, spelled X-Blade,
Right.
the original Keyblade from which all others are just a copy,
Is in this
in the box. I don't know how I feel about that theory, because so this is the thing. This is part of why I actually sort of hate every like recap video I've seen people do of the series, because they start with this stuff and they're like, so you know, in the beginning the world was made of light, and then there was the Keyblade War. I'm like, no, you can't start with that, because it doesn't make sense unless you know the story of Sora and the Keyblade and where we are currently. So, assuming you know that. So Sora got the Keyblade, defeated Ansem, goes to the Castle Oblivion, defeats Marluxia, who comes into this story unbelievably. Kingdom goes into sleep for a year. Kingdom Hearts 2 happens. At the same time, Roxas is doing his thing. Just me and my phone. Roxas doing his thing in the background. Kingdom Hearts 2 happens. Defeats Xemnas. Kingdom Hearts Coded happens, which ties into this, where Jimmy digitizes his journal. You find out stuff. And then, I think, at that point is when you go, oh, but wait, 10 years ago, let me tell you the story of the 3 characters that I mentioned at the end of Kingdom Hearts Coded. Because they come up at the end where Naminé is like, oh yeah, also, while I was digging around Sora's memories, I found out that tied to his heart are these people named Ventus, Terra, and Aqua. Like, what's up with them? And Mickey's just like, oh, yeah, I remember those guys. Whoa, 10 years ago, man. Like, what is up with that? So then you jump back 10 years into the past. You find out what happened with Ventus, Terra, and Aqua. You know, Ventus originally was Master Xehanort's apprentice.
Yep.
And he was supposed to be... he was being groomed to become Master Xehanort's new vessel, because Master Xehanort's whole thing is that he wants to get into the real Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And to get into the real Kingdom Hearts, you need the Keyblade. I should have made notes for this because I'm sort of rambling. And then he's a bad vessel. He decides to make Terra his vessel. Aqua tries to stop them. They lose. Ventus loses his heart. His heart goes into Sora, which explains both why Roxas looks like Ventus, because technically he is Ventus. He's like Sora's nobody, but like with Ventus's heart, because reasons. And also explains why Sora and Roxas are able to wield 2 Keyblades, because they have Ventus's heart inside of them. Which will be interesting if in Kingdom Hearts 3 does Sora lose the ability to wield 2 Keyblades? Does Ventus get his heart back? Presumably that's going to be an important thing, because Xemnas, you find out that the reason why they were in Castle Oblivion is because Ventus his body is hidden somewhere in Castle Oblivion, and Xemnas wants to get his body back, so they can use him as a vessel for Master Xehanort. And I haven't even gotten to Union Cross yet.
Yeah.
So
well, all of that makes sense. It's with the whole coded, like recoded is just like a confusing game.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like the whole story just gets like really, really convoluted within that.
It's because they like introduce this whole
digital world,
the data world, and
Digi?
And what they do when they do that is, like, we already knew that there's the realm of light and the realm of darkness.
Right.
And then when they make the datascape, they go into it thinking, like, oh, like, this isn't real. But then, like, it's very heavily implied that the datascape is actually just, like, another realm. You know? Like, they just sort of found their way into, like, you know, its own separate universe in a sense. And then in Dream Drop Distance, they enter the realm of sleep. So I got 4 realms. And then
multiverse
gets worse.
Yeah, I know.
Union Cross introduces the Unchained realm, which may or may not be the realm of sleep, and may or may not also be the datascape at the same time. And this is the thing, because, like, we just don't know, like, the true nature. Like, a lot of people initially think, like, because there's Dream Eaters in Union Cross, originally called Unchained, and which is why people are like, oh, it must be the realm of sleep that they're in. But there's also stuff that implies, like, okay, maybe some of this is happening not hundreds of years in the past like we thought. Maybe it's happening
within, like, the datascape.
Like, or a datascape type world. I should have brought water in here. And part of the reasoning for that is because Maleficent shows up in, not the most recent, but, like, within the last couple updates of Union Cross. She shows up having traveled back in time to this realm. And
so now we have time travel.
Well, we've had time travel.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. We've had time travel since Dream Drop.
And so she can time travel because of the fact that in Kingdom Hearts 1, Dark Riku unlocks her heart, and that gives her the ability to do weird
stuff.
Basically. And maybe you're going to off. And that plot line also hasn't been resolved in Union Cross, so we don't know.
We haven't reached
the full extent of like what she's doing there. You know, she is aware of the fact that because the setup is that she was trying to go back in time to when Birth by Sleep takes place,
right?
And somehow she messed up and ended up in the Union Cross timeline.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, again, the fact that it's a different dimension, technically. And the Sleeping Beauty's castle, the Enchanted Dominion, that she like goes back to is, even within the world of Union Cross, like supposed to not be real. Because the whole setup of Union Cross is that it takes place during the time of the Keyblade War. And the Disney world that you go to are not the real Disney worlds. They are illusions of the future Disney worlds called into being by the Book of Prophecies, which is an item that the Master of Masters, who may or may not be the whole puppet master of this whole thing, is an item that he had that mainly did two things. Like, it could see the future, or told the future within this book, and it also had the power to bring future things into existence now. So they call in these other worlds, you go and explore those other worlds. That's basically that's the gameplay loop. So the question is, okay, like, how does she get into this other realm where Union Cross takes place? And which I guess I should actually explain that in more detail. But also, like, why is she being called into existence by the Book of Prophecies? So her scene where she shows up ends with somebody off screen telling her that part of the reason, again, this hasn't really been resolved yet, but part of the reason why she's there and not in the Birth by Sleep Enchanted Dominion is because she's not allowed to change the past. You know, like, that's one of the rules of time travel in the Kingdom Hearts world, is you can't change things that have already happened. Which is weird because in Kingdom Hearts 2, the Timeless River level is all about stopping Pete from destroying the Cornerstone of Light, but maybe that's something different. So, Union Cross. I'm
gonna have to start playing this again.
It's interesting. So, basically, what happens in that game? So, like I said, it tells the story of the Keyblade War, right? So, basically, the Keyblade War happens because there's the Master of Masters who gets 6 apprentices, and he tells 5 of them there's going to be a Keyblade War. I've made the 5 of you, and the 6th one, but we'll get to him. The 5 of you are now Keyblade Masters. Here's your Keyblades. I made these. Happy birthday. And each of you is going to lead a union, and your unions are going to collect light, called Lux. And eventually there's going to be Keyblade War. Darkness is going to swallow the world. Sorry, go have fun dealing with that. And he gives like each of them their own role, saying, this is what I want you to do. He tells one of them that there's a traitor amongst them, and that it's his job to find out who the traitor is. And the one girl is given the job of making sure that people survive the Keyblade War and that the world does not actually end. So what she does, and this is where the whole extra dimension thing comes into play. What she does is she creates this group called the Dandelions, and she creates 5 new unions that are supposed to succeed them after the Keyblade War ends. And the names of those 5 people that she's supposed to pick were given to her by the Master of Masters, who again can see the future.
Right.
And we'll come back to him in a minute too. So, yeah. So she somehow creates an alternate dimension where the Keyblade War doesn't actually happen. So Union Cross is technically actually the 3rd version of this game, just called Kingdom Hearts Key originally. Kingdom Hearts Key tells the story of the Keyblade War. And this is where some time travel trickery comes in, right? Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, which was the version that we got over here, is essentially the same story, except at the ending, the Keyblade War doesn't happen. And you realize the reason why it doesn't happen is because of what her name is Ava. Ava's plan was to create this alternate dimension to save people. She basically pulls a bunch of people out of the Keyblade War so that they don't die in the Keyblade War. And they are basically asleep in what they start calling the Unchained Realm, where they have to it's kind of like, I guess, like purgatory in a weird way, where they have to like purge the memories of the Keyblade War from themselves. So you relive basically all the events up into the Keyblade War, and it doesn't happen. And then Union Cross is what happens after that, where the new Union leaders have taken over, and you as the player, you're not one of the Union leaders. You're the player who keeps having like flashbacks to the Keyblade War, even though to you it never actually happened because you've been spirited away to this other realm where the Keyblade War hasn't actually happened.
So hold up.
Yes. Questions?
No, not a question. It's kind of a theory that because this, whenever you introduce multiple universes, it gets complicated. First and foremost, same thing with time travel.
Yeah, so it's weird if their universes are just separate levels of reality, you know?
Right. So let's say this: there was Kingdom Hearts Key, which is literally the story of the Keyblade War.
Yes.
And then there's this Unchained one.
Yeah.
Okay, where it doesn't happen, and you're purging the memory of it. Then the third one is the successors of those, but it's also an alternate dimension of the second one, correct?
Unchained Key takes place in the same dimension. The whole idea, though, is that it's retelling the events. So if you want to think of it as like Key taking place in the quote unquote real world, then the Keyblade War happens. Then the people who survived who fought in the Keyblade world but survived now are, I don't know if they explicitly say sleeping at any point, but again, because of the existence of Dream Eaters and things like that, it sounds as if they're in the realm of sleep. So in Unchained Key, you're in the Unchained realm, reliving all the events up to the Keyblade War, and the Keyblade War doesn't happen. The part where they say you're purging your memories of the Keyblade War is in Union Cross, where that event has been passed now, and you're reliving memories of it as memories, you know, rather than like, I guess the distinction is like Unchained Key is technically a memory, but it's a memory of like a thing that hasn't exactly happened yet. You know, the center point Keyblade War moment has not actually occurred yet. And then Union Cross is, okay, that happened, but like the Union leaders know that it happened, but they're trying to convince everybody that it didn't happen. You know, and that like, oh, maybe they were wrong and the Keyblade War was never going to actually happen in the first place. You know, so that's kind of what's going on.
Okay, never mind. So I was going to say...
No, still say it, because I mean,
right, if this is
still probably valid.
This Ava.
Yes.
That's her name, correct?
Yes.
So she made a whole alternate dimension, somehow, right?
Yeah, presumably with the Book of Prophecies.
Right, presumably. Does that mean when she created this whole new dimension that she also created a copy of herself?
So that's sort of the original Union leaders are all implied to be dead, that they all died fighting in the Keyblade War.
Okay. Because in the event that she did, this would be a never-ending cycle, and there would be never-ending versions of this.
Right.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
And that could happen. Well, yes, but also like I wonder, because of the fact that like, because if you think about it, like when you're in the whole point of, like, okay, so I guess the best way to explain it is that like in the Kingdom Hearts mythos, there's been the repeated story of, in the beginning, there was light, and then darkness swallowed the world, and then the worlds, so at the beginning, everything was one world, covered in light. And then it was swallowed up in darkness, but the light that survived in the hearts of children helped to rebuild the world, except it was then fractured, you know. So like imagine a world where like, you know, Disney Castle and Halloween Town are, you know, just miles apart from each other rather than, you know, space.
Separate worlds, yeah.
So the Keyblade, the original Key story, tells basically up to, and then the world was swallowed by darkness. And then Unchained Key is essentially the process of the world's being reborn through the light in the hearts of children. And in order to do that, they need to basically purge the memories.
Forget the Keyblade.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a major thing that happens in Coded is like they repeat this, like the thing that Nominee wrote in the journal, which is, what is it? Like, the hurting will be mended when you return to end it. So like the whole theme of that is like trauma, and like Terra, Aqua, and Ventus in particular have like gone through so much trauma, and it's kind of like Sora is the only one that can
And
end that basically. So similarly, Union Cross is like, okay, if we want to rebuild the world, we need to get this trauma out of the memories and out of the hearts of the people that survived it, basically, is kind of what they're trying to go through. Complicating that, though. And this
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
This was the part. Now that we've been talking about it for I don't know how many minutes. This was the part that made me be like, "Wow, this story is more important than anybody not playing it realizes," because two of the Union leaders, all right, one person for sure is somebody that we know, and another person is very likely somebody that we know. So it turns out that Ventus is a Union leader. Existing in this time is supposed to be at least 100 plus years before Ventus is supposed to exist. He is a Keyblade wielder, presumably a Keyblade wielder, we'll get to that, and the leader of these new unions, the second ones that have survived. And he just kind of like shows up, like he was not set up in the story at all. He just, when the 5 union leaders are supposed to meet in the aftermath of the Keyblade War, so there's 2 that you've been following for a while. You know who they are already. Third guy shows up, or maybe Ventus shows up. But anyway, Ventus just walks in. He's just like, oh yeah, you guys can call me Ventus. Or my name is Ventus, you guys can call me Ven. And like Nomura has already confirmed, like, oh yeah, that is the same Ventus that is in the rest of the story. So it's just like, okay, but how? Like, what does that mean? Does he somehow time travel? Is this section of the Unchained Realm taking place at more or less the same time as Birth by Sleep, or sometime shortly after? Does Master Xehanort somehow get into the Unchained Realm and decide to take Ventus out of it to be his new vessel? We don't know. And the other character...
That's possible.
I mean, if Maleficent gets into it, maybe...
Why couldn't he?
If we're talking about just like wacky time loop stuff, what if Maleficent recognizes Ventus and is like, but wait a minute, and she's just as confused as we are, and she somehow pulls him out because, again, presumably she got in and then gets back out somehow, because unless that stuff happens before Kingdom Hearts, or happens after Kingdom Hearts 3, we know she's in Kingdom Hearts 3 looking for the box, which I mentioned and haven't gotten back to yet, just like this story did. Hoping that you forget about it so when it shows up. So I'm going to get to the box, because that's one mystery we know will be resolved in Kingdom Hearts 3. Nomura has said the box will be opened in Kingdom Hearts 3. But the other person...
It's got to be the Keyblade.
There's some theories. So a couple of them make sense. So the other person who we should recognize is named Laurium. And Nomura has tried to dodge this one a little bit. But Laurium is definitely has to be Marluxia. There's like no way, because if you take the X out of his name, you can spell Laurium. He's got pink hair. And also, this is the thing that I haven't seen a lot of people pointing out. So his sister is a girl named Strelitzia, I believe is how you pronounce it, which is a flower. And his whole thing is flowers. Like, that's his motif. So
it's got to be him.
It makes sense. Like
his original.
It has to be the same person. It has to be his somebody. Which raises a couple questions, because again, all the Union leaders are supposed to be Keyblade wielders. Everybody in Union Cross is supposed to be a Keyblade wielder. So was Marluxia in a past life a Keyblade wielder and like lost that ability, and maybe that explains why he's so obsessed with getting one in Chain of Memories?
That could be it.
Excuse my coughing. But like the one clip of him that I've seen, like because he was in one of the first trailers for Kingdom Hearts 3 before I just bounced off of it. Like he's in it, and he is back from the dead or something. Time travel, who knows anymore at this point. And talks about how like he is still loyally serving the organization. So it's like what is going on with that character. The reason why I mentioned before the question of like what's Ventus doing there, is he a Keyblade wielder? I mentioned this to you before. Is like there's a not impossible chance that Ventus might actually be evil originally, because so there's the 5 new Union leaders. Like I said, 2 of them we've been following for a while now, so we can presume that they're innocent. One of those other 3 murdered Strelitzia, because Marluxia's sister, because she was supposed to be one of the Union leaders originally. She was chosen by Ava, we know that for a fact, and somebody murdered her right before the Keyblade Wars happened. And because she was murdered before the Keyblade War happened, like her heart, soul, whatever, was never saved in this other realm. So like she's dead and gone, and there's no way for them to bring her back at all. So Lorium, who proclaims to be her brother, is like looking for like what the hell happened to her. He doesn't know that she's been killed. The player does though. And there's some evidence that Ventus might have been the one to have killed her, because there's a moment where they're like debating something, and they're like, well, what about the rules that Master Ava gave us? Master Ava gave us all rule books. And like Ventus like gets like angry about something that they're supposed to do, and they're like, whoa dude, like it's in the rules, didn't you read the rules? And he sits down, he's like, oh yeah, I read the rules, I just didn't understand that part. And it's just like, did you not have a rule book? Did you get in here because you maybe murdered somebody to get here? Who knows? Like, we're expecting him to be like a goody two shoes because he is a goody two shoes, from what we know. But you got to think, like, Master Xehanort chose Terra as his vessel because he knew there was darkness in him that he could corrupt. Like, part of the story of Ventus as we know it is that Master Xehanort said he made a mistake in that, Ventus was like too nice or too naive. But like, what if he wasn't? Master Xehanort splits all the darkness out of him and creates Vanitas, and he's just pure effing evil. So maybe that was in his heart, at one point, and he straight up murdered somebody. Who knows? I mean, it's either him or this other guy named Brain that nobody really knows anything about. But one of the theories is that he's actually Zexian, which doesn't really make any sense to me. It's pretty much entirely based on the fact that his hairstyle looks the same, and Zexian is such a distinctive hairstyle. But I'm like, maybe just like Nomura likes that hairstyle, Like, I don't know. I don't really buy that theory. Sorry if you buy that theory. I'm not into it. So that's the current state of the story. Talking about the box now, which is like my current obsession. So on top of everything else.
I wouldn't dive too deep into it until Kingdom Hearts, because you might see some spoilers. Like,
no, I've stopped.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm done. Like, sometime tomorrow our time, the game is gonna be out in Japan. And I know that like the game leaked a month ago at this point. And
people have been ruining it for people, which is why I've like steered clear.
Yeah, and I have not come across anything that like actually confirms anything. So everything is still just ideas. So the black box. So I mentioned earlier that the Master of Masters, voiced by Ray Chase, who's also the voice of Noctis. Fun fact.
That's so cool.
The Master of Masters, who's a really fun dude, who wears the same cloak that the members of the organization wear, has 6 apprentices. 5 of them become union leaders. The 6th one is a guy named Lucio, notably the only one to have an X in his name. X is an important letter in this series. He also wears one of the cloaks that the organization wears. You never see his face. He's given a special mission by the Master of Masters. And his special mission is to take his Keyblade and this black box. And he's told never open the box. But the Master of Masters tells him what's in the box, because he asks nicely. He's like, can I just know what's in the box? And he's like, all right, I'll tell you. And
but you're not.
Don't ever
open.
Don't ever open it. Well, and then that's sort of the thing is when he tells him like what's in the box, Lucia's response is, like, whoa. And then he goes, but why? And then Master goes, you'll see. Which is like this big thing people focus on. Like, what does he mean by that? Does he mean Lu Shu's going to be around to see what happens when the box is open? So, the Master of Masters can see the future. And the way he can see the future is
through the book.
Well, he wrote the book.
Oh.
But maybe he found the book. I don't know. It's presumed that he wrote the book. Maybe that's confirmed. I don't know. He has this thing called the gazing eye, which is his eye. He says it's my own eye that he puts in his Keyblade, and he gives his Keyblade to Lu Shu, and says wherever this Keyblade goes throughout time, I right now will be able to see what it sees, and because of that, I'll be able to see the future. So Lu Shu's mission is to just stay in the background, watch the Keyblade War, don't get involved, watch everything that happens, take the Keyblade with you, pass it down to your apprentice, make sure you tell them to pass that down to their apprentices, so that this Keyblade will last throughout time, and I'll be able to just see everything into the future forever because of it. It also keeps the black box with you forever. What do you think happened to that Keyblade, Spence?
Got stolen or lost.
Nope, somebody has it. Who do you think has that Keyblade, Spence?
Sora.
Nope.
Shit.
It's a very distinctive black Keyblade.
Oh, Riku.
With a giant eye in it.
Oh, it's Riku.
Well, Riku's Way to Dawn has a gazing eye in it, but it only has one because Master Xehanort's Keyblade is the same Keyblade. So, somewhere along the line, Master Xehanort inherited this Keyblade from somebody, maybe Lu Shu, because again, who freaking knows how long this timeline actually goes. Basically, the Master of Masters' plan to get this Keyblade passed down to people worked, and Master Xehanort has it. In A Dream Drop Distance, young Xehanort has a line about how the Keyblade I will inherit is the most ancient Keyblade. But yeah, that's how the Master of Masters sees the future, with a Keyblade that, in the current point we are in the series, is still being used by Master Xehanort. Looks evil as hell. And we still don't know what's in the box. One of the main theories for the Keyblade being in the box was that for a while people had noticed that there's a bunch of locks on it, and it looked like there were 20 locks on the box. And they said that the Keyblade was split into 20 pieces. 13 pieces of darkness and 7 pieces of light. And like that would seem to add up, right? That theory amongst fans has since been backwalked to, okay, 2 of those locks may not have actually been locks, they might have been hinges. So maybe there's only like 18 locks on it, which to me doesn't make sense. Like that almost, like, even if I don't necessarily believe the Keyblade theory is in there, like it would make sense to have 20 locks on it. Like, some random arbitrary number of locks doesn't really make any sense when we already know the number 20 exists, So the Keyblade being in there is one of the main theories. I don't necessarily know that I buy it because it's weird. Like, we know that the Master of Masters made the Keyblades he gave to the Union leaders. He drew them from their hearts, inspired by the original Keyblade. So we know that he knew that it existed and maybe came into contact with it at some point. Nomura's only statement on it was that he is aware of its existence. Not that he owned it, not that he had it, not that he touched it, just that he knew of its existence. So who knows if he had one and stuck it in the box. The thing that's kind of weird to me, though, is that, if he had it at one point, he lived in a time where he could have just been like, I'm just going to go hop over to Kingdom Hearts real quick, He lived at a time where the world was completely in light. He could have opened up Kingdom Hearts if he wanted to, possibly. One of the other main theories is that the Master of Masters' own heart is within the box. Kind of like what Xehanort's trying to do by putting fragments of his heart into other people, that the Master of Masters, the box is going to open and his heart is going to into somebody else and he'll possess them and come back to life or whatever, That theory is also kind of weird because who knows, like, what he would want to do that for, you know? Like, Xehanort's been very upfront about, like, this is the reason why I want to do this, you know? So to have somebody else be like, well, he's doing the same thing Master Xehanort does, but we don't know why, you know? That's kind of the thing, like, no one really knows. The guy is so mysterious and so much like...
And this is explained in Union Cross or in the original Key?
Well, not necessarily any that's really, like, explained. Like, so there's the... what's it called? Unchained Key back cover, which is like a hour whatever cinematic movie that retells the essential story of Key from the perspective of the Union leaders, because they're kind of in the background of the game that you actually play. And you can find out like what they're all about from watching that, and then you actually get to meet the Master of Masters in that movie. That's where there's all the moments where he like tells everybody what their mission is. That's where he gives Lu Shu the Keyblade. That's where he gives him the box and says, "Don't open the box." But
So I'm gonna have to go watch this.
But we don't really know like what his plan is, you know, besides just, and even like the Union leaders didn't know what his plan was. Sort of the whole thing. Like he gave his 5 apprentices the Book of Prophecies, warned them that a Keyblade War was going to happen. He gave Lu Shu a box and said, "Never open this box. Take this Keyblade with you forever." And then he just disappeared, and like nobody knew where he went. They couldn't find him. He was like just gone. Now, because of that, one theory I came across recently that I thought was interesting is that maybe the Master of Masters is from a different time period himself. And the reason why he disappears is because, again, the rules of time travel in Kingdom Hearts are a little, but one of the things we do know is that, like, you can't stay in a different time forever. Like, you eventually jump back to your own time. So the fact that he disappeared off the face of the earth would seem to imply that maybe he wasn't from that time and he was zipped back to his own time, wherever that was. If that's now, if that's some other time period we know about, if that's not a time period we know about, like, who can say,
Right.
I mean, for all we know, he could be Sora, and Sora is stuck in a, like, how tragic would Kingdom Hearts actually be if it turned out that, like, Sora or Riku, or really any of the characters that we know, are actually, like, stuck in a time loop where they go back into the past to try to prevent the Keyblade War or whatever, and then they are the Master of Masters or something, and then they try to prevent everything, but then they just end up back in the same spot, Who knows? No one knows. I mean, like, it sounds ridiculous, but it's equally, at this point, equally as plausible as anything else, And this is going to infuriate you.
Oh, God.
Again, I mean, Nomura could be lying. He's sort of joked about things before, so we don't know. But he said that the box is going to be open in Kingdom Hearts 3, but that the Master of Masters does not appear in the game. So, does that mean Ray Chase voiced not Noctis from the movie isn't going to be in the game, but his true identity is in the game? Does that mean no version of him appears at all? Does anybody even know he exists? We don't know. And all this comes back to the fact that Union Cross is still ongoing. The English versions of some of these stories that I mentioned are not even coming out until like July of this year, I think, is when the most recent one is supposed to come out. So it's out in Japan, but the English version isn't out yet. So like, that's why I make the joke that it's not important, but incredibly important, because like it can't possibly matter, because not only have not a lot of people played it, but a lot of people can't have played the whole thing because it doesn't exist in their language. But also, like, obviously it is important, because, like, why would it exist at all? Why would you introduce Laurium? Why would you introduce Ventus? Why would Maleficent go back into the past if it didn't matter,
And why would this black box that is...
Why is it a black box that shows up? Why is the Book of Prophecies that Maleficent's looking for? Like, why do those things... Oh, so there's a theory that that Castle Oblivion, like, is the Book of Prophecies because of the fact that it has the ability to create worlds out of cards from people's memories. And in the original version of the original version of Key, So like if you were to play Union Cross right now, you play with medals that you use like to
Yeah.
attack. The
Yeah.
original version of Key used cards. So there's a big connection there. And the fact that maybe the Book of Prophecies and maybe even Black Box are either in Castle Oblivion or, made flesh, who knows? Like somehow those things seem to be connected. And again, as mentioned before, Ventus is locked away somewhere in Castle Oblivion that only presumably Aqua can get to, you know? So two, maybe three really big important things are hiding in this castle that we haven't seen in 3 games.
In the 3 main games.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't shown up at all in 1, 2, or 3,
Oh, God.
And in addition to, again, sort of adding more, like this, again, is also like one of the things, like it's important, but how can it be important? Because so Larcene is also in Union Cross as a Keyblade wielder, presumably as a Keyblade wielder. We haven't seen her Keyblade. She has a Dream Eater like all the other Keyblade wielders do. We know she's a member of a union. Her name, I think, is Elrena, I believe, is how they spell her name. Again, clearly her. Who else could it be? Her name is spelled that way. She's got the yellow hair with the little spikies, But, like, they heavily advertised the fact that Marluxia and Larcene are coming back in this game. Like, they made sure to point out in the trailers,
But they're both there.
they're in the game. They're gonna be a
Relevant.
thing.
They're going to be relevant.
And they were also the two that were like behind the original Castle Oblivion conspiracy, to get their own Keyblade. That was like their whole thing, was they wanted to control Sora, not for the goal that Xemnas and the organization wanted, but because they wanted the power of a Keyblade. So did they have Keyblades at one point and they can't use them anymore? Like that, on one hand, like that doesn't make sense because Roxas could use a Keyblade and he was a nobody. Is he able to use the Keyblade just because of the whole Ventus heart shenanigans? Xion could use a Keyblade and she was kind of not even a real thing. She was a puppet made from Sora's memories, so...
Yeah, don't even bring that up because it's a whole nother...
She's on the box art for Kingdom Hearts 3, so...
I know, which is...
She's going to be in the game, I'm sure.
Didn't she disappear at the end of...
She
358?
She disappears at the end of 358 days. Nobody remembers her. She pops up, I think at the end of Coded she's in there, and she's at the end of Dream Drop, and she shows up at the end of Sora's story when Sora has a moment where he's like, my friends are my strength, and there's a shot where him and all of his friends. Shion's in the background of that shot.
Yeah.
And
I completely forgot about. I think I texted you. Oh wait, no, because you didn't finish that game.
I haven't finished it yet. And Riku talks to her on Destiny Islands when he gets like to the bottom of Sora's dreams, and he doesn't know who the hell she is. Because again, nobody knows who she is because they don't remember her, because when she disappeared, they remember. She's also the explanation for how Roxas was first able to dual wield, because when he like absorbs her at the end of that game, then he goes and fights with Riku in the world that never was, and again, the explanation for how Riku was able to call on his darkness and overpower Roxas is that like she reaches out to him through Roxas and is like, beat this dude, and Riku's like, handsome. It's like, I know people are like, oh, Kingdom Hearts is such a mess. Like, to me, it's a fun mess. Like, I really enjoy. Like,
I just want some answers,
because it's like, to me, like, yeah, it's sort of like a convoluted mess, but like it's a convoluted mess I've been able to have in my head for 16 years. So it's not like I can understand anybody trying to do this in the last year. Forget it. Like, I can understand being like, oh my god, this makes no sense. This is hell. That's why I said you can't start with the story of the Foretellers. That's the name of the Union leaders. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. You can't start with the Keyblade War because like you're not invested in the idea of Keyblades yet. You can't tell the story of Aqua, Ventus, and Terra because you're not into that world yet. You're not wondering, why does Ventus look like Roxas? Like, those are the questions that those games are supposed to answer. And telling the story chronologically isn't always the best choice. The story was not released chronologically. It's like how I tell, this is maybe a dumb example, but I tell people, like, if you want to read the Chronicles of Narnia, start with book 2, which was the first book published. But if you buy a box set of them right now, the box set will say number 1, Magician's Nephew. Don't read that one. is the origin of Narnia, but like it doesn't make sense unless you already know Narnia exists. You know, it mentions Narnia on like the first page. There's no sense of like discovery. There's no sense of like the magic of the world, basically. You know, which I think is sort of how Kingdom Hearts works. You know, if you try to explain the proper nouns, you know, before you get to the Disney stuff, basically, you know, you're gonna miss out on something. The only original characters in the first game were, you know, Sora, Riku, Kairi, and Ansem. Everybody else was pulled from somewhere else. You know, now there's more original characters than there are borrowed characters, but like you don't start with that. Basically, is my point. So, any other questions?
I want some answers.
Which
that's
is
all. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm gonna
Kingdom Hearts 3. That's all.
Like I'm gonna basically be quitting the internet for however long it takes because I don't want
I'm gonna be binge playing that.
anything spoiled.
What's today? Today's
Wednesday.
the 23rd.
Comes out on Tuesday, the 29th.
The 29th. So less than a week away. I'm
Yes.
willing to bet I'm gonna have it finished by the 1st.
It's like 3 days.
I'm gonna do it.
3 days.
I don't have anything to do. I'm more than likely going to play it all day, all night.
Okay.
It's gonna need a lot of coffee, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I'll.
It's gonna take me a
find the
week
time
at
when I can. I'll have to find the time when I can.
I think it's gonna take me a week at most. I mean, I'm sure it's a very
Well,
long
we don't
game,
even.
but
Yeah, I
I'm
was gonna
going
say
to
we
be
don't even know
binge
how long
playing
it is because he's referred to Nomura has referred to the game being bigger. You know, just in terms of like level scale, before you even get into the story. And I'm sure this game is just
really long,
packed with story,
information. Yeah,
you know, like
well, it's
which
taking
to me I'm
them
like
how long?
Great, like
Yeah.
I'm here for it, you know.
I'm hoping that's what it is. Like, I hope it takes me longer than that, but I really like because of the way that I am with Kingdom Hearts. I want answers, so I'm going to be playing it from start, just flying through it, not playing anything else.
Yeah, I mean we're not going to get all the answers though, because for sure.
Nomura already confirmed that there's going to be another series, like
Right, and that's what I guess I didn't get to say this before, but that's what I was going to say about Union Cross. Is my personal pet theory is that this extra junk that we're not really sure what's happening with yet is going to. It's actually secretly set up for the next thing, you know. Like the reason why the Master of Masters doesn't appear in Kingdom Hearts 3 is because, you know, he's going to be heavily involved in the next storyline, whatever that ends up being, you know. And
but as for Sora's trilogy, this is going to
bring
it to a close.
Like I can imagine,
or this version of Sora, I should say.
Right. I mean, I'm sure Sora will grow up some more. You know, I think that it'd be a lot of fans think would have a really hard time playing. I guess, you know, we've had Kingdom Hearts games without Sora in them, you know, but we had those with the promise of more Sora in the future, basically. So I think if to be like, this is the end of Sora's story, you know, like you got to kill him off, basically. And like, I don't know, I can't see them doing that. But
I can.
But
I can totally see it happening, but I don't want it to happen. I'd be more upset if Riku wasn't in the game, honestly. I like Riku. So.
They've called it, Nomura's called this like the Dark Seeker saga, you know. So as much as it is Sora's story, it's also Xehanort's story, the rise and fall of Xehanort, basically. So presumably he's not going to survive this game somehow, and
that's a whole nother thing though. Like, how does this Xehanort, the same Xehanort that's in Birth by Sleep,
yes,
who does not technically appear in 1 or 2,
right,
show up in 3?
Really?
I don't. It's like
because he's back,
right?
So the question
is just like how and why. Well, obviously we know why, but
there's 2 different reasons. One is time travel,
right?
But the other reason is that like this is actually him because they've established before in multiple games they've established this. I know that like Dream Drop kind of sort of wipes it aside, but
which is why Dream Drop was like so confusing.
They mentioned it in a couple of the different games that like when a Heartless is killed, its heart like returns to the person. In the case of the organization, like Xemnas is a body without a heart. Ansem is a Heartless that gained a body. So Ansem dies in the first game. Xemnas dies in the second game. The two of them
Now rejoin and create
into
again.
Master Xehanort. So the question, though, is why is Master Xehanort old again at the end of Dream Drop and presumably into Kingdom Hearts 3? Again, I don't know if I've seen him in any of the trailers or not. Maybe I don't.
He is.
I mean, I'm sure he is. But
in the teasers, back a year and a half ago, I'm fairly certain he was in it.
So the question is, why is he old again and not the Terra Xehanort hybrid that he was when he split himself into Xemnas and Ansem? That's the thing that we don't know. Master Xehanort at the end of Dream Drop says that he still has Terra under his control, but Terra's not seen at all. So we don't know why that is, Does he just come back because that's his preferred form? That doesn't make sense, though, because his whole thing was he wanted Terra's body because Terra was so much younger. So we don't know. That's the thing. There's just questions that hopefully will get answers.
I have a lot of questions, but a lot of theories as well.
I don't know what's in the box. Oh, I think so. The I mentioned earlier that the whole thing with and this might not even matter for Kingdom Hearts 3 because again I think that Union Cross is the setup for the next thing. But so there's the foretellers. One of them is tasked with the mission of finding out who the traitor is amongst them. But what he's told specifically, and this is my theory, only works because of the wording of this, and it's one of those scenarios where I don't normally get this, this exact, I guess, on the wording proves it, but he's told, you will know the traitor because they're the one who diverts from their assigned job, basically. So, and his job is find the traitor. So one of them is told you're the leader, you're supposed to follow the leader, you're the one who's supposed to create the other dimension. I forget the other person's job. Find the traitor, and then Lucio is told
keep the box.
He's told keep the box and never look inside the box. My personal theory is that Lucio looked in the box and he's actually the traitor because he broke his rule and looked inside the box. And it's also set up and implied that Lucio knows who the traitor is, so maybe he just admitted, I looked in the box, it was me. But you don't find out what he says, because there's a point where he Ava confronts him finally right before the Keyblade War starts. And she's like, you know who the traitor is, don't you? And then this is in Union Cross, and then the game cuts away. And then they come back and she's just shocked, at what she's just heard, but the player never finds out what he said.
I hate that
so much. It's cheap storytelling. But and then the two of them fight, and then that's what starts the Keyblade War. And there's also a line in the Book of Prophecies about how the Keyblade War will start because of the traitor. I'm not explaining the words properly, so I might be totally wrong there. But basically it has something to do with this is what will cause the Keyblade War. The traitor will do traitory things. And there's this whole line about the one who bears the sigil. People think the sigil refers to the Percusion sigil, which is the letter X that is put in all of the members of the organization. It's what they slap onto Sora's body in Dream Drop distance so they can track him. Lucio has an X in his name. So to me, it's it makes sense for him to be the traitor. The question of how can he possibly betray people he was not supposed to do anything to is, okay, well, he looked in the box. So if he opened the box way before it was supposed to be opened, and whatever was in there came out and, ate his soul or something, the box is going to be open in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's going to be empty. It's going to be Marcellus Wallace's soul. Who knows? And that's what I said when I texted you. It's this is wild because there's all these weird connections to other stuff we know about that
we know nothing about.
May or may not be important, and it will eventually be important, I'm sure, but
are we
may not be important right now, may not be important in 1 week from now. There is also the fact though that they've said that the epilogue for the game is not shipping with the game because you didn't hear about this. So after the game leaked, which was physical copies of the game were stolen and then the guy sold them all. Nomura said that they had not included the epilogue of the game on the disc. So epilogue could mean like the secret movie that Kingdom Hearts always has. It could just be like an after credit sequence. Birth by Sleep though has a full playable epilogue. The like remaster of Birth by Sleep has like a second playable epilogue. So there's also the question of, is this a video? Is this content? We don't really know. But they said that it's going to, as a way for them to combat this specific type of piracy, like that is not shipping with the game and is going to be released at a later date. Now, what's a later date? To my knowledge, he hasn't said, oh, it'll be, the Friday after the game comes out. Oh, it'll be day 3. It'll be day 2. What if they're like, it'll be 6 months from now? Will be like Kingdom Hearts Season Pass. There's no Season Pass, but like Season Pass update, basically. Kind of like what Final Fantasy 15 did in a way, where they will release
character.
Here's an extra thing. Yeah, here's the actual end of the game, guys. We know you've all had time to play it, all time to think about it. Here's the ending of the game, and also here's how it ties into Union Cross. And now all the questions have been answered.
I could
they
see
could do that.
I could see it happening because Kingdom Hearts has never had a DLC, and it's huge nowadays. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just in the pure fact that it's coming out on all platforms, I could see it happening.
Who knows?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I would think that they've had like pre-order DLC. Like, I feel like if they were going to ever do a season pass or some sort of paid DLC, they would have had to announce it by now. Like, there's no universe. I mean, maybe Square Enix would do it. They've done some stupid things in the past. There's no universe in which you could release Kingdom Hearts 3 Friday in Japan, 1 week in here. And then after that, especially if it's like an important epilogue piece, say, oh, by the way, give us $10-20 more to play the rest of Kingdom Hearts, and not have the entire game industry just implode. Like it's too big.
Yeah.
That's too important to too many people.
Yeah.
To not even just talking about like Kingdom Hearts. I think appeals to a lot more people than we say sometimes. Like, or you joke about Kingdom Hearts fans and about it being a convoluted mess, but it's got a huge fan base.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them are very dedicated. A lot of them are more casual and might not even realize like what is happening if Square Enix were to try to make that kind of announcement. Yeah.
A lot more dedicated.
Yeah, a lot more dedicated. So I don't see that kind of thing happening. If they were to do it, I imagine it would be a free update. But like I said, they have already said the epilogue is coming at some point in the future. I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, that means the secret movie or, like the Kingdom Hearts 2 ending cutscene.
It's probably just going to be an update they throw in.
I don't know. To me, I don't know. Like, is again, people talking about like, is there going to be a day 1 patch? We'll find that out, I guess, in tomorrow probably, because it'll come out in Japan sometime our time tomorrow. Is there going to be like a day 1 patch? How big is it? Because like the game went gold, like to me anyway, pretty far in advance of when I thought it would be. You'd think that they would have been waiting until the last minute. Like, I was amazed. I think a lot of people were amazed to find out that there were already copies in circulation a month and a half ago. Like, yeah, that was coming directly from like the main distributor basically, but that's still, in the modern era anyway, you think like that's still a lot of time for the game. I think they finished the game, like announced it was done like in the beginning of November. Like, that seems to me like that's a lot of time for you guys to just be sitting on this basically. So what could they be cooking up in the next 2 months that they had to work before the game came out?
That patch.
I don't know. Bug fixes? Who knows, man?
I don't know.
We're going to find out in a week. We'll be doing
I don't know if I'm excited or just pissed.
Videos every day. I'm excited. I'm still in disbelief. I'm just like, like the world is going to end on Monday at 11:59 and I'm never going to get to play the game. I'm kicking myself. I'm like, if I had stuck to my plan in high school to successfully learn Japanese instead of starting and stopping every 6 months like I have been for the last decade, I would have been able to play this game tomorrow in Japanese. and it would have been great. But it's not what happened, and I'm just like, let me get through next week. I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I thought it was coming out this Friday in the U.S. It's only in Japan.
We gotta wait
I had
another
a
5
whole
days.
whole weekend planned. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I am literally gonna just be off the internet, except to post this stuff basically, and to talk to anybody who wants to talk to me about it without spoiling things, because like
I wouldn't. That's
well, I
the
mean,
end of this game.
I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I'm posting a video, watch my video, and tell me how great I am, haha. I mean, like, if people are gonna, were gonna
Engage,
talk to me
yeah.
about this, but I'm not gonna I'm even nervous about like going into my own like YouTube subscription timeline, where I'm like, I think I should be safe there, but
Yeah, no.
something could pop up, Don't scroll. Definitely don't look at the comment sections, I'm gonna be off Twitter. I'm off Facebook, I don't subscribe to any like gaming subreddits anymore.
Yeah,
That
I
would spoil it.
I gotta stay off of literally everything, which is gonna be very hard.
It's gonna be rough. But
Not gonna hear from us
but
for
I'll get
a
through.
couple days. From
Hilarious-
Friday to Tuesday.
The funny thing is, like, this didn't. Like, I guess I didn't care this much. Like, even when Dream Drop came out, I guess because like we talked about this before. Like, when that game came out for me, I was like, oh, this is basically Kingdom Hearts 3, and they're trying to be funny by calling it Kingdom Hearts 3D, because like it takes place after Kingdom Hearts 2.
Right.
It like literally like immediately afterwards, like Kingdom Hearts 2, they get the letter, and they are responding to that letter in the beginning of Dream Drop Distance. Like, that's the connection. So to me, it's like that. Oh, this is Kingdom Hearts 3, but like I wasn't like, nobody spoiled this game for me. Nobody, And when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I was in like 6th grade, so like I knew people that played it, but there was no danger of me going online and having somebody spoil it. I don't know if anybody even really. I don't know how bad spoiler culture was, back then. Because
nowadays,
it wasn't really in those spaces, right? But now it's like, there's
one slip
there's
up.
no way I can't open up Twitter without seeing somebody talking about it, And even in like, I'm not even talking about like malicious people, Like, I'm not gonna tweet about it, I'll be like, still having fun, keep you guys updated, still having fun, But I'm not gonna post story stuff. I won't be like, oh, Marluxia Lorium confirmed, ha 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 ha, like, not going to do that. Because even good-natured celebration, I think, can ruin it for other people,
Yeah.
So.
Like, if anything, I'll just say, wow, like, this is incredible. Or something like that, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been replaying, not like trying to finish the series, because like I've played them all so many times anyway, but just like for my own fun, because like I want it so badly, let me play something similar. So I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2 again now, and I played through Beast's Castle and was like, I'm just gonna wait for the third one. I don't want to play these dumb Disney levels. They're just rehashing the stories of these Disney worlds. I know this stuff already, and I like sort of angstily like stopped playing for like a week, and then I was like, but it's really fun though. I actually really like it, so I still went back and played it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is thinking of, am I gonna like this game or not? I'm like,
Well, there's a lot.
I'm gonna have fun with it, no matter what. Even if they don't give me the answers that I want,
Well,
I will.
Do you
have
know
fun with
of the confirmed worlds already?
I know some of them. I don't
Okay.
know all of them. I mean, I might know all of them, but I don't know if I know all of them.
Right. That's the same page I'm on. Like,
Yeah.
Like as far as like the Disney levels go.
Yeah, I know that. Well, because from the very beginning they've had like Olympus is obviously the first level. I know they did Tangled and Frozen, and then they announced Pirates of the Caribbean again when they announced the PlayStation that I bought.
I didn't know that. Wait, yes, I did.
And
Which is super cool because that hasn't been since.
it was in the second game.
Yeah, that was the second game.
It looks so different in this new one.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, it is still impressive in Kingdom Hearts 2 how they sort of match the art styles. Next level in the trailers, even for this one. I'm excited to see what that looks like in the game.
There's two main ones.
And then there's Monsters Inc.
You're missing one.
I haven't seen anything from it, but I heard there's a Big Hero 6 level.
I didn't know that either.
Well, sorry. Then I don't want to hear it because I don't know if I know it. Is it a returning level or like a whole new one? Okay, then I don't want to know if it's a whole
Well, it makes me mad.
I might not know it.
You should know it because they make pops of it.
The Disney World.
It is a Disney World, yes.
What does it say? So Olympus, Tangled, Frozen, Toy Story.
Yes.
That's what it was. Okay, Toy Story. Yeah. So I did know about Toy Story. Okay. That's right.
The art style for Monsters Inc. and Toy Story looks really cool.
Yes, well, I actually saw a really great like side-by-side comparison of like Toy Story the movie versus Toy Story Kingdom Hearts, and it looks like you can't really compare the two because you could maybe you could compare like the pre-rendered cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts 3 to Toy Story the movie, because the animation in Kingdom Hearts is a video game, so it's happening like in real time basically, versus this is a movie, it's done. But it looks really, really good and really close, and they did a really good job. And if you don't look too closely at it, if you're not looking at a comparison, like your brain is just like, oh yeah, that's what it looked like, And I think that's really impressive. Good job to the developers there.
Definitely
on that one. I'm excited to play the Big Hero 6 level because again, like I said, so I haven't seen anything for that one.
I haven't either.
But I heard that they were doing one.
Oh wait, I did hear about it.
I heard because they announced that one a while ago. I don't
but
think
they didn't show anything.
Yeah, maybe the last trailer did, but I did not watch it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I've seen
no screenshots.
I've seen stuff for Frozen, Olympus.
Yeah, Olympus was like the first thing they.
Well, yeah, because of the big rock titan.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yeah, Big Hero 6 is like.
I never watched the movie.
It's super good. Maybe my favorite modern Disney movie. Big.
Bold statement.
Bold statement there. Maybe my favorite modern Disney movie. Really good. So I'm excited to see what that's like. Hanging out with my buddy Baymax. Yeah, we've been talking for too long, so we should probably stop.
That's what I was checking. It's probably going to be a summon, though, like how Stitch was. What if they...
No, he's got to be a party member, so you can ride around.
Oh, yeah, actually, that would be cooler. That would be cooler.
I saw from the Toy Story level that you can they have Woody, Buzz, and Donald and Goofy in your party all at the same time, so you don't have to, like, take somebody out anymore, and you can get an extra person, even. So that is dope.
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited, and this conversation didn't help at all. Because now I'm just more confused and want more information, and it's just like building my...
You're not confused, you're intrigued.
A little bit of both.
That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah. Like my brain actually hurts right now. Like I have a headache from trying to process all of this right now.
Like literally when I caught up on the Union Cross stuff, I like texted a bunch of people that I know that have played Kingdom Hearts, and I'm like, have you played Union Cross? So I'm like, do you know what's happening? Just because I was like, I couldn't believe that nobody had talked about this.
Oh, it's on my phone.
And people have
I've played some of it, but
Well, because like it's
a phone game.
It's a phone game. It didn't seem important, and like the plot takes like a long time to get to the actual plot.
Exactly.
Which is why they made like the movie version.
But
that doesn't get into all this new stuff. So like I didn't know existed. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Something like that.
You can watch it tonight if you want. It's in the 2.8 case.
Oh, it is.
So, which is, if you haven't played that, you should play that as well because it's like prequel-y to 3 in a way.
Okay.
It's Aqua's. It's what was like what Aqua was doing all the time.
Yeah, in the World of Darkness. Or
the editing, super great. Just saying, super great. So, but it's short, so you can breeze through it. What was I saying? Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they did another Kingdom Hearts Key Union Cross movie that sets up all this, plots out all this new stuff, because of the fact that like they clearly know that not everybody is playing it.
Like how much of it they explain at the beginning of it? You mean?
Like in the beginning of the Kingdom Hearts 3, you mean? No, I mean in terms of like they made the back cover movie to explain the plot of Unchained Key.
Right, because they know that so many people...
I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing for Union Cross at some point and made a movie version.
So this movie's in 2.8.
Yeah, this movie is one of the things that came in there. So 2.8 is the Aqua story.
Right.
It's the PS4 remake of Dream Drop Distance, and it's the movie Key back cover, which is like the story of the Foretellers. So, I guess he's doing that for Union Cross to explain who the hell Lorium is. And is he Merlucia? He totally is. Why is Maleficent here? Who is that shadowy figure who kills Strelitzia?
Who's the Master of Masters?
Right. But Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out in a week. I don't know.
That was a really long talk.
Was
It
a
was
really
really late.
Yeah, you made me actually think one last thing. I don't know what they're going to... I'm amazed. Not amazed. Really interested to find out what they're going to do to set up the story in the beginning of the game. Because, again, playing through Kingdom Hearts 2, that game just assumes that you've played Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
Like, it does not care if you haven't played Chain of Memories. Does not pause for a second to explain what is happening. You're just supposed to know. And I'm really scared, I guess, for people that are just jumping in or
Without playing Dream Drop.
or who played 1 and 2. Yeah. That point especially is interesting because, like, Dream Drop ends on a cliffhanger. Like, it literally ends with, we got to do this stuff. We got to get these people. And then, actually, it might be 2.8 after you do Aqua's thing. There's, like, an extra cutscene, which is Sora going to Olympus Coliseum, which is, we know, the first level of Kingdom Hearts 3. So it's like, when are you going to tell people starting this game for the first time, Like, is there going to be a click this button to find out what you need to know starting the game thing,
Hell no. Of course
should
not.
you just dive in and figure it out as you go? I mean, that's what I'd recommend, just jumping in. But okay, so this talk has been going on long enough. If you stayed until the end and listened to all the first stuff and the Kingdom Hearts stuff, congratulations, you win internet points. If you listened to just the Kingdom Hearts stuff, then also thank you for listening to all that, because I haven't checked the time yet, but that's the bulk of the time.
I think we've been going for an hour and 45. Yeah.
So an hour of just Kingdom Hearts talk by itself. So
probably a little bit longer. I think we only talked about the rest for like a half hour at most.
We'll find out when I go to cut it. But anyway, thanks for sticking with us. If you stuck with us, if you didn't stick with us, you're not hearing this. But we're gonna keep doing more of these. Maybe we'll have some Kingdom Hearts stuff, some spoiler talks, some not spoiler talks, just because we're both gonna be playing it. We're gonna be talking about it anyway.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be it. So, yeah, you guys know what to do. Like this video on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review in iTunes. Apparently, once you get 100 of those, you are like a real podcast or something. I don't really know. I heard people talking about, like, you got to get 100 reviews for Apple to care about you.
Pretty much.
And all I want is Apple to care about me, obviously. But that's going to do it. I swear I'm going to wrap up now. I'm Alex. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Strine.
I'm Spence.
Do you have a solo Twitter?
I don't.
We are at Believe the Love G1.
Yes.
We don't do much there yet, but I'm sure that this is going to be tweeted and stuff. So,
yeah.
And we will tweet non-spoiler Kingdom Hearts reactions, only comments about people's outfits. And that's it. So thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.